Hello and welcome to another episode of eKO, Education, Knowledge, Opportunity, a show brought to you by Everjobs, Bangladesh. Today we have a very exciting guest on our show who will be representing the banking industry. But before we go just into that, there are quite a number of things which I'd like to just quickly share with you, and a quick reminder as well. For the past few episodes, I've been sharing about the exclusive opportunity which Everjobs Bangladesh is providing through eKO, which is an exclusive internship to work with us at Everjobs. So if you haven't applied, because we are giving away tons of goodie bags, we are giving away even a brand new smartphone, do get applying, because tonight is the deadline. Tomorrow morning, that's it, closed, finished. Go on to www.everjobs.com.bd/eKO, because we'd love to have you on board working with us. Now, I'm sure quite a number of you have wanted to have an experience or wanted to get into the banking industry. And through Everjobs, through eKO, we are extremely excited to have a wonderful guest who's from NRB Bank. His name is Zeeshan Hasib, who is the Deputy Managing Director and in fact the current Acting Managing Director of NRB Bank. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Sabir, for inviting, and
it's
a privilege
it's an absolute
me
pleasure.
To be here. Thank you.
So do tell us a bit about your background, how you got involved with NRB Bank, or in fact how you got involved with the banking industry as a whole.
Well, thank you. Well, I've been in the banking industry for about 18 years now. It's more than 18 years.
Wow.
I started back in 1998 with a French bank called the Société Générale. They were operating in Bangladesh at that point of time. But unfortunately, they closed down their operation in 1999. So that was the time when I moved to Standard Chartered. So I continued with Standard Chartered for about a little more than 5 years, and then I shifted to HSBC. So with HSBC, I was with them for over 9.5 years, and then finally I moved to NRB Bank, and now with NRB Bank, it's now more than 2.5 years. I mean, time just flies. So all through my career, I've been with corporate banking mainly, but in between, for 2 years, I also worked in Chittagong, which was an excellent experience. I was heading the Chittagong operation of HSBC there. So that's it, about 18 years now.
But what would you say inspired you to get in? Because a lot of our viewers who want to have a career are not necessarily aware of the sort of careers they want. And so where did that inspiration initially come from?
So, actually, it's very tricky because once you finish your education, once you finish your studies, either your graduation or your post-graduation, that is the point of time when actually you're very confused as to where you would actually be joining. So at that point of time, the priority becomes to get a job first. So you basically don't think whether you want to go for banking or you want to go into some other industries. Like I remember when I finished my master's and I did my MBA from the Colorado State University, and when I came back to Dhaka, I started applying everywhere. I mean, Unilever, British American Tobacco, some pharmaceutical companies, and also to banks. But end of the day, I got an opportunity in the bank, and I took it, I grabbed it. And of course, if you had gone back 18 years back, that time there were not many telcos here present, but banks were offering very good jobs in terms of pay, in terms of the credibility. So people actually wanted to enter a bank. So I was very fortunate that I got a job in a bank. So that's how it all started.
So what would you say would be your message to those wishing to get in? Because I find it very interesting that it wasn't actually a passion. It wasn't something that you initially wanted to do. You were applying for so many different opportunities, which in fact from the records we have at Everjobs, we see that one person is applying for probably 10 different jobs. So it kind of is very, very similar approach to you. But you seem to have kind of built up this passion whilst within the industry. Now, how do you go about doing that? Because a lot of people can lose love for whatever company they're working. So what would you say to them that to build on that passion?
Well, actually, when I started banking, it did excite me a lot. It did excite me because I saw that there were a lot of opportunities. So opportunities for growth. So in fact, that probably prompted me to work very hard, and I think end of the day, it's hard work that pays off. I mean, I always, when I'm speaking to to my colleagues, especially my younger colleagues, I always tell them that there are two things that you have to always follow. One is honesty and one is hard work. And as long as you're following these two things, I mean, no one can stop you practically.
Of course.
So when I started also, it was, in the beginning, it was very difficult because a lot of people don't have an idea of what a bank does, to be very honest. So basically, when we all go to banks, right? We all go to banks. What do we go and see there? We go and see that there's a big hall room, and there are counters where people are collecting money and dispatching money. Some people are sitting there with the account opening forms, but there's more to it, and banking is
what
not
goes on behind the scenes.
Yes,
Everybody
behind the
must
scene,
know.
and banking is not a regular, like a 9 to 5 job. It's a very demanding profession, and I've had the experience of spending hours. I mean, 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours working. So this is what banking is all about. So
commitment, I would say commitment is
is very important, but at the same time you have to enjoy your work. If you're not enjoying doing something, you cannot do well. That's the bottom line. Yes.
So commitment, you have to enjoy what you're doing, and if you want a career within the world of banking, within the banking sector, you can go on to www.everjobs.com.bd. We've got tons of opportunities on there for you. Now, one very important message which I want to share with you all is, if you want to ask our guest on the show a question live in studio, which I'll express on your behalf to our guest, please do go onto our website www.everjobs.com.bd/echo. We have a mini chat box right on the bottom corner of our page, where you're able to ask any sort of question you wish to ask. If it's to do with banking, if it's to do with career related, if it's to do with just wanting general advice as to how you can work your way up. Because Zeeshan Bhai has just expressed, he's been working in the banking sector for now 18 years. So he had to work his way up to the top. How did he do that? So these are the types of questions you can ask. And if you want to learn more, go on to www.everjobs.com.bd/echo and do ask, because it will come to me here on studio. Now, with regards to the current job structure in banks, what is the hierarchy like, especially when working your way up? What does somebody have to do to be able to work their way up?
Well, first of all, somebody has to decide whether he or she wants to get into a bank. Like I said, that banking is not just depositing money and withdrawing money. It's a vast area. I mean, banks don't only need people with a strong mathematical background. No, because if you look at a bank, there's a corporate banking division, there is a retail banking, there is a marketing division, there's an internal compliance division, there is a facility management. I mean, there are numerous divisions. So a bank needs somebody who is good in marketing, branding. They need lawyers. They need engineers for the facility management. So there are a lot of opportunities. So first you have to decide whether you want to become a banker, yes. And second, well, you go step by step. I mean, starting from preparation of a CV, submitting to a bank, how you face the interview, and so many things. I mean, like, for example, to write a CV, that's an art. Because when I get a lot of CVs every day, you know, from students or from people all around the country. So that's the first impression you get about that person, the CV, because you don't know the person face to face.
So what would you say it has to be, what is the ideal CV, would you say, for somebody to wishing to get a career in banking?
Well, that depends on which department he or she wants to get in. But first is the format of the CV, how they write the CV, because there are a lot of CVs written which are not appropriately, where the person does not appropriately chalk down his or her strengths or what he has done in the past, and some are very ordinary CVs which you would not take it to the next level. So CV is very important, because I have seen CVs where they write a lot of things. So especially when I'm interviewing someone, what happens is I've got the CV in my hand and I look at the CVs, and from the CV, from what he or she has done, I would ask questions. And sometimes I find a lot of people writing a lot of things, but when you ask them about it, they don't know about it. So probably somebody else has written the CV for him,
That's very interesting.
or they thought that maybe if I write these things, the employer is going to be happy and will recruit me. But that's not the case. You write what you actually know. So because when you're facing the interview, you'll find the interviewer asking you questions based on a lot of things based on what you've written on the CV. So writing a CV is, properly writing a CV is very, very, very important. That's step number one. And then you face the interview. Yeah.
So CV is absolutely important. The structure of the CV, your strengths, addressing literally who you are and your actual credibilities. Because when employers look at that, this is what you're representing. They don't know you. They don't know anything about your background. You're selling yourself through a piece of paper, through your CV, and you have to make sure it is structured correctly. It's structured in a format which is appealing, which is giving the best of your knowledge down about you onto a sheet of paper, and that's what's going to win you over. Now, I've heard from a lot of people here in Bangladesh that when it comes to jobs in banks, this whole thing about security, that banks give this whole security in jobs in terms of finance, in terms of longevity. Now, what would be your thoughts in that? Is that true? Is this just a stereotype?
Well, banks do pay much better than any other private companies in Bangladesh. That's true, but it was more true maybe 5 years, 10 years back.
Well, I'm still hearing it today.
Now, still, I would say banks are marginally better than any other private companies. So, in fact, yes, there is a sense of security in job security, provided you're working hard and being honest to the work. Yes, because what is happening in the country right now, that the business is growing, the overall country is doing very well. So when everything, all the positive things are happening, so then you'll see that the banks will also be growing. So in terms of that, where if you see that banks are growing, then you'll be needing more people in there. So there are a lot of opportunities to grow within a bank. Yes, that's very true.
Okay. Now, in terms of your current position, you're working at NRB Bank, the acting MD. Because NRB Bank is also a very, very newly established bank, I believe almost 3 years now. How has that grown over a period of time, and what would you say is the company's vision?
Well, the last 3 years probably I had one of the most challenging. I faced a lot of challenges in the last 3 years because this is the time when we actually grew from nothing to what we are today. So within the span of last, say, 2.5 years, we have grown in all the sectors. We have grown in the retail banking. We have launched credit cards, the personal loans, and the auto loan.
What about anything
loans.
Student related?
And yes, student related also. We have got a student banking division, which we started very recently, but we are still not very much focused on it. But this is an area where we want to definitely grow in the coming days. Yes.
Okay.
And we are very strong in corporate banking. We are involved in the stock market to some extent, the secondary market. We are doing a lot of treasury products marketing. So overall, in the last 2.5 years, what we have done is we have set up all the departments in place, and we had fairly a good year 2015, yes, and we are looking forward to this year and the years coming.
Wonderful. Well, if you wish to have, once again, a career within banking, or want to learn any further information, or want to have any sort of career advice, or if you're just willing to just share your experience that you've had, whether it's submitting a CV to a bank, whether you've not been selected, the challenges you faced through an interview, if you want to hear how you're able to overcome these challenges, you can ask our guest on the show live by visiting www.everjobs.com.bd/echo and through our chat box on there. Now, before we go for a quick break, I'd like to just introduce our wonderful audience, who are students from IBA Jahangirnagar University, who after the break will be addressing our guest on the show. So do come back in a short while as we're going for a short break. Welcome back to eKO, presented to you by Everjobs Bangladesh. eKO, what is it? Education, knowledge, opportunity. Now, as we were talking before the break, we were interviewing a wonderful guest representing the banking industry, Mr. Zeeshan Hasib, who is the Deputy Managing Director of NRB Bank and the current acting Managing Director, and also our wonderful guest who from IBA Jahangirnagar University, our wonderful audience. So, yeah. To continue on from our show with regards to the banking industry, now there was a lot of questions that have been coming throughout my head during the show, and the difference between private banks and state-owned banks, especially the selection process when it comes to candidates applying. What is the difference between private and state-owned banks?
Well, the basic difference is that the state-owned banks are much bigger. So when you're applying to state-owned banks, it's more broader because they've got branches all over the country. In fact, in even in the rural areas, you'll find the branches of state-owned banks. So their requirement is also much bigger. So they go through a different kind of process of recruiting people, their staff. So they would probably give an advertisement in various newspapers and in other internet job portals, and then they will be receiving probably thousands and thousands of applications, and then they go through the examination process and finally the interview process. But in the case of private banks, it's a little bit different. Yes, we also give private banks also give advertisements in the newspaper, but at the same time, you'll find that some key positions are also recruited through, I mean, those are not the entry-level positions, but in the slightly senior positions are recruited through knowing, it's a very small industry when it comes to the private banking. So you know people, and from there you recruit the best of the best. So that's also done. And there are also a lot of CVs coming in on a regular basis, and these CVs are always scrutinized and are kept aside. So whenever the need comes, we will first probably see if we have got the right candidate from the CVs, from the persons who have already applied. So that's how it works in the private banks also. So it's different. Nationalized banks, it's much bigger, but in the private banks, it's slightly different. Yes.
But how would you assess the applicants coming through and the length of time it takes to go through that assessment period? Because when there's let's say you've got an NRB bank posting for a new position, and one of our audience members applies for this role, and what would be the...
Well, length of time, it might differ. There is no set length of time, because in some very not so complex positions, you can recruit someone very quickly, maybe in a week or 2 weeks. But in a more complex positions, it might take months, because you might not find the right person suitable for that kind of position. So there is no fixed length of time in that. But usually the private banks, as I said, once you scrutinize the CVs and once you select someone from the CVs that you have come across, then either you might go for an interview process, or there can be a written examination. It varies from banks to banks. So okay. Some banks will probably just start off with an interview. Some banks maybe will ask the candidates to first sit for a written examination and then go for the interview process. So that's how it's done.
Okay, so it can be a lengthy process, it can be a short process. So all pretty much depends on your credibility, all depends on your skill. If you're a candidate who fits their bill, that fits their job description, then it shouldn't take a lengthy period of time. So if you do wish to apply for any sort of career opportunities within the banking sector, you can go on to our website at www.everjobs.com.bd. Now, there's a very interesting question which it's generally very common, but especially the skills and abilities that a candidate would require to secure a career within the banking industry. What would you say are those skills?
As I said before also, that like bank is a vast area. So an engineer can also apply for a banking job. And
this gives our viewers a lot of hope.
Yes, an engineer can, of course. A bank needs a lawyer for their compliance department. So a lawyer can also apply. there's a brand department. So somebody who's good in marketing, he or she can apply. So it's not only candidates who have got strong financial background, not them. It's anybody can apply actually, basically. So it gives a big opportunity for a vast number of candidates. And as I said, that this is what a lot of people don't know, who banks recruit. So in that sense, yes, there are a lot of opportunities.
Do you think that message is really echoed out nationally, that anybody can apply? Because the general stereotype is you have to be a good mathematician, or you have to be good with numbers, and have the economic sort of background to be able to get into the world of banking. But it's very interesting that you say this. So what's the sort of clear message that you can give to our audience to really state that point? Because it's very, very important that it is echoed nationally. Anybody can apply. So what would you say?
Well, I think the candidates or the students who will be applying for a banking career once they finish, I think they should read much more about what a bank does. So once you know research, you do some research on what a bank does. So once you do those researches, then you'll see that the requirements of a banker. So I think that's the first thing they need to do also, and then you start applying.
Okay.
But the thing is that, as I said, that yes, there are different professionals who can apply in a bank, but those numbers are of course a little bit limited because a compliance team won't be a very big team, but compared to a retail team that will be doing all the marketing, marketing of retail products. But yes, the candidates from numerous positions, professions can actually apply.
Well, it's time to open the floor up to our wonderful audience from IBA Jahangirnagar University. So if you guys do have any questions, please do echo away right now. Take the floor.
Okay,
please do introduce yourself, your name, and the subject you're studying. And
I'm Ariful Islam and completing my BBA program in IBA Jahangirnagar University. So my question is importance of MBA degree for bank job.
Well, thank you, Arif. I think it's a very valid question because I see a lot of candidates coming in who don't have an MBA degree but a simple graduation or a BBA degree. I think having an MBA degree is important, but it's not necessary, because we recruit a lot of students who have just finished their graduation, and some, yes, they have continued doing their MBA even when they're working. A lot of them didn't do their MBA, but they are now holding very senior positions. So it's not something which you have to do, but it's always good to do your MBA. This is what I suggest. But if you get a good job once you have finished your BBA, you can always look for the opportunity to do an executive MBA. So my suggestion would be, once you're done with your BBA, yes, you should start applying for a job. You get the job, and then you start doing your MBA through an evening program or these executive MBAs. That will be very helpful in your long-term career.
Thank you, sir.
who else has a question?
Sir, I am Armanul Haq. I have a question that thousands of our Bangladesh students do not get the opportunity to continue their study due to poverty. So, though many banks in Bangladesh says that they are giving the opportunity to students with loans, but it's just not enough in our country. What should you think that it shouldn't be increased?
If I get your question right, what you're saying is that those who have not finished their education or the graduation,
thousands of students in our Bangladesh that they do not get the opportunity to continue their study due to poverty. What should you think that in our Bangladesh banks should not be increase their goal with the students with loans?
yes, actually this is where the student banking also comes, and banks do extend loans to students. They do that, and there are a lot of private banks who are extending loans to such students, especially students who are very they are very good students, the meritorious students. so that they can complete their studies. And in some cases, I know of banks which have recruited such students in their banks. Once they have given them the student loan to complete their education, and once they have finished their education, they have absorbed these students in their bank. So there are banks doing that, but yes, you are right. I think many more banks should come forward and start doing this. It's part of also a CSR, if I say so, because this way you are helping a lot of people to come and then work in the future. Yes, that's a very good question.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
One more question.
Okay, my name is Mohammad Akib. So I just want to know that how can a banking career will help me to be an entrepreneur?
Yes, a banking career can help you to become an entrepreneur, because depends on which department of the bank you're working. Lot of these, I mean, if you're working for an SME department, for example, or in corporate banking, then you get to know how the corporate houses are doing business in the country. So when you get to know how the corporate houses are doing business, then you start thinking whether I should be also setting up something like this. And then you see how they are doing their trade. You understand how international trade is done, how a letter of credit is opened, how the banking is done, how you apply for a loan. So all these experiences you gather when you are working in the bank. So I have seen a lot of people who have worked in a bank for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and then they left and started their own business. I've seen that they've been very successful in their career. Yes, so a lot of people do that. In fact, even in some MBA courses also, why do they ask for work experience? The reason they ask for a work experience, because practical experience is much better than a theoretical or experience. What you learn by doing is much better than what you learn by reading. So that's why a lot of these MBA courses, they would ask for whether you have got a work experience. Yes, okay, I've got 2 years work experience, so then now you can apply. So yes, once you have a banking experience for a few years, you can try to become an entrepreneur, and probably you will succeed. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Before we go for a quick break, I just want to squeeze in one quick question, which has come from Zubair from Chittagong. And he's asking, what factors would give me a competitive advantage whilst applying for jobs in the banking industry?
Well, of course, a good result, yes. Not a very good result. We don't necessarily see only or pick up only students who have got the highest GPA. No, but at least a decent GPA. So one factor is, yes, you have to be a good student, definitely, and secondly, you have to be good with numbers if you're working in a bank in the departments where it's number oriented. And of course, you have to have the general knowledge. I've seen interviewing people. When I see, I can read out who a bright student is, because he or she possesses a lot of knowledge in terms of the extracurricular activities. And these are the boys or the girls who can actually contribute. This is what I feel. Somebody who's very much only focused in one aspect, only in one aspect, is probably not the right person in a bank, because a bank has to deal with a lot of complex issues, lot of complex issues. So only focusing on one thing will not do justice. You have to be actually what I call an all-rounder. So you have to possess some very strong mathematical skills. You have to be at least above average student. Have to have a very good general knowledge background. You have to know what the country is doing, what the business is doing. So these are the aspects These are the things that you need to focus
So
on.
I hope, Zubair, that answers your question. Now, before we go for the break, just a quick reminder that if you do wish to apply for our exclusive internship opportunity at Everjobs Bangladesh through eKO, you can go on to www.everjobs.com.bd/eKO. Do come back after a short while, as you'll be just going for a quick break. Welcome back to eKO, Education, Knowledge, Opportunity. The past 30 minutes we've been discussing so much about the banking sector with our wonderful guest Zeeshan Hasib, the Deputy Managing Director of NRB Bank, and with our wonderful students from IBA Jahangirnagar Universities. Now there are a lot of questions coming flooding in from all over Bangladesh, but before we go on to those, one more final question from our audience. Who would like to ask?
Hello, sir. I'm Intisar Ahmed. And my question is, I'll be graduating within a few months. So which sector I should focus on? I should go for private banks or multinational banks or the public banks? In which sector I have the better opportunity of growth?
I think for in your case, you should start applying in both the multinational and the private commercial banks. As many as banks you can. Just send the CVs, and you don't know which one is going to click. So just send CVs to all the first. I mean, what you can do is maybe you can chalk down that these are the first 10 banks that I want to apply. Just send CVs to these 10 banks, and also the multinational banks. Do that.
So would you recommend that for all new fresh graduates to apply who is having?
Yeah, I mean, if all the fresh graduates, if first you have to decide whether you want to go into a bank. If you decide to go into a bank, start applying. Just send CVs to all the banks, and start applying.
Okay. We have a question coming in from Rajshahi, so corner of Bangladesh. It says, very interesting and actually quite a direct question regarding NRB Bank, saying, how do I apply for a job at NRB Bank and what is the recruitment process?
Well, actually, if you go to the NRB Bank website, there is a career section through which you can email your CV, and this once we receive your CV, and if we are satisfied with your CV, then we will definitely give you a call. And if you receive the call, then you'll be asked to come either for an interview or for a written exam, and that's how the selection process goes on. And actually, like all the banks, like even these private banks, they are not only situated in the key cities, they are actually moving outside the key cities, outside Dhaka, Chittagong, Sylhet. So like NRB Bank, we don't have a branch in Rajshahi now, but we'll be having hopefully within the next couple of years. But in the meantime, you can apply through our website, and then if we find you suitable, then definitely we will be very much interested to get you in.
So there's another question from online that's coming from here in Dhaka. It's from Jumman, and is asking, why do banks hire more science background people instead of business background?
Well, Jumman, I don't think that's entirely true. I think banks, they hire more from the business background rather than the science background. Even I see a lot of these students who have finished their studies or have done their masters in engineering or in any other science background courses. They end up doing an MBA, an executive MBA, and then they apply for a job in the banking sector. So it's not. I don't think it's true that we or the banks, they employ more students from the science background. No, that's not correct.
Okay, so there's a lot of advice that's been given by Zeeshan regarding the banking sector. But one thing I'd like to quickly just echo one more time is our exclusive internship opportunity. Tonight is the deadline. So if you can go on to www.everjobs.com.bd/echo to apply, you'll be able to work with us at Everjobs. You'll be able to get tons of goodies, including a brand new smartphone to kickstart your career. So if you do wish to apply, once again, go on to www.everjobs.com.bd/echo. Now, before we come to wrap up the show, wrap up eKO, if you can give your final words of wisdom to those wishing to get into the banking sector, what would you say to our wonderful audience?
Well, all of you are nice young bright boys, and I think that yes, you should consider banking as a career, because it's a wonderful career. It's a sustainable career if you're working hard, if you're dedicated, prepared to work 10 hours, 12 hours a day, then you should think of this career. And of course, be focused in what you're doing at this moment so that your results are good, and then start applying. And I wish you all the very best.
Well, thank you very much, Zeeshan bhai, for being our wonderful audience representing the banking sector here on eKO, and also to our wonderful students from IBA Jahangirnagar University. So it's been a fabulous opportunity to be able to express a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, which I hope you are able to absorb about the banking sector. And always remember, anybody can apply. And if you do wish to apply, you can go on to www.everjobs.com.bd. If you want further career advice on any other sector, any other career field, you can visit our job journal, and visiting www.everjobs.com/job-journal. And thank you once again for watching eKO, and do tune in next week, where we will be focusing on another career industry, just to give you the advice so that you are able to become the professional you want to be. So tune in next week on eKO.